Welcome to Historic Fairview Cemetery and our Veterans Day observations. I'm Gail Rubin, the president of the cemetery, and I appreciate your attendance here today. We have a wonderful program for learning about military conflicts in New Mexico throughout history after our flag-raising ceremony here today, and a few comments from the VFW and the DAR, and one of our board members who is a veteran. So let's start with the raising of the flag. If I could ask Helen, Beatty, and Jim Berdine. Helen's with the DAR and Jim is with VFW. So I'd like to introduce to you Helen Beatty, the Regent of the Wallace chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Thank you so much. I have just a short little explanation of what we are. And the Daughters of the National Society of the Daughters of the American Revolution was founded on October 11th, 1890. This was during a time that was marked by an increase in patriotism, and people wanted to learn more about our founders and the history of the United States. Unfortunately, most of these people were men, and they didn't want us to be in their organizations. So a group of women in Washington got together and formed the Daughters of the American Revolution, and we've been carrying that torch since that time. And now we are over 1 million strong. What is the DAR? Well, we are a non-profit, non-political organization of women who volunteer and provide service in the community. Basically, we're a service organization. And we are passionate about our mission statement, which is historic preservation. That's why we help the Historic Fairview Cemetery Association to clean up and work at the cemetery. And we're also passionate about education and patriotism. Okay, who can be a member of the DAR? Well, you have to be a woman and 18 years or older. You can be any race, religion, or ethnic background, as long as you have a patriot in your lineage. So how do you become a DAR member? Well, you trace your history, and you find your patriot, and you fill out your paperwork, and you submit it. We have many genealogists in our society that are willing to get you started in this process and help you through the process. We provide services in the community, and some of those services are attending the things that I've done, attending naturalization ceremonies. I don't know if any of you have attended a naturalization ceremony, but they are amazing. You can't leave there feeling bad. And in our community, we've had from just the services I've attended, 38 to 45 countries of men and women who have wanted to become American citizens. Anywhere from 99 to 104 people at one ceremony. It is amazing. And when they take the oath and say the Pledge of Allegiance, you can't not cry. You know, it's just very, very, very amazing. One of the other things I do that I find that is so important in our community is support of the ROTC students. That's my thing in the DAR. And I encourage anybody who has not gone to an ROTC ceremony at the end of the year to see these students get their awards to do so at least once. They are amazing. They have to be 25% scholastically in everything. In their ROTC classes, and also in their academic classes, and they are our future. So,
Talk about your project with the
and my project. I have this. I am the regent of the Wallace chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and my project this year is the restoration. Is to help with the restoration of the Fairview Cemetery, the Historic Fairview Cemetery. And over by the Springer Mausoleum, there is an area that we are going to put up a patriotic plaque for the 250th celebration of the United States of America. And I'm also going to plant desert flora so that it will be a nice place, and I'm hoping that eventually I get enough money for my project so that I can do more areas throughout the cemetery. I think that's very important. Yeah, so I'm going to end by saying thank you so much for inviting me to do this. As an ex-Marine, I am thrilled to be able to speak on Veterans Day. I really am. And today, the DAR honors the United States soldiers for their heroism and sacrifice of those men and women who believed in a cause greater than themselves. They have fought and even died for more than 2 centuries to ensure that liberty and freedom never fade and is never lost. Since the Revolution, men and women who serve and protect the United States come from all walks of life. There are husbands, there are wives, there are parents, children, grandparents, friends, and neighbors. I am truly honored to represent the DAR and thanking our veterans for their service and remembering those who have served in our history. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Jim Berdine with the VFW Roadrunner Post
10763.
10763.
You know, I don't know if I need a speaker. I'm an old sergeant. And when my sergeant voice came out, my guys knew it. But mainly I want to say today just a few things. The DAR is a very important function too, and I'd be glad, our guys would be glad to visit with you and see if there's anything we can help the DAR do. Thank you for everyone coming out today. I really don't have a lot of notes. Our commander had a stroke last Thursday, and everybody else was too timid to come out here. You know, it's not only about the veterans that have lost their lives in wars, and it is unknown how many we've had lost their lives, but it's for all the veterans that have served our country. And I don't know if most of you realize that in today's world, only 1% of Americans join the military. And out of that 1%, less than 1% of those go to combat. So to be a Vietnam veteran, or Persian Gulf veteran, Afghani veteran, Iraqi war veteran, or maybe a Civil War veteran, it is truly an honor to be amongst those folks. I want to thank the Cub Scout pack. I was at Lowe's Market and met a Cub Scout leader selling popcorn. And I simply asked him, could you come out and help some old veterans? Ace Hardware Store had donated us some flags, and we didn't know what to do with them. So I started looking for a cemetery. Went down onto Sunset Memorial, and they said, no, we get 3,000 flags, and we have all these Boy Scouts come out. Why don't you go to Fairview Cemetery? And I came out here and took a look, and I said, you know what? We have some forgotten soldiers. They are long forgotten, and we need to help them. So I had 200 flags, and I went to my Allstate insurance guy and said, I don't know how many graves are out there, but we have a lot of soldiers that have been forgotten. He said, you know, Jim, I'll give you 250 more flags. And I said, well, thank you very kindly. That's wonderful of you. Well, the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts and one Brownie showed up last Saturday, and I had 39 people out here putting flags out. You know, all it takes is actually ask an American. Americans are kind-hearted and very loving. Ask and ye shall receive. That's really a secret in life. If you don't ask, you can sit back and say, this ain't gonna happen. I will tell you my theory in life as an old sergeant. There is no T in can. Everything can be done if you have the will to do it. And we're going to stay with this Fairview Cemetery as long as these old men are. And I've been out recruiting some new guys to our post. The youngest one is 32 years old, so I hope we can be doing this for a long, long time. I don't want to talk about the past and who did this and who did what, but I want to look to the future and say, this one day can be a wonderful, loving place, showing grace to all of those that are buried here. So thank you for giving us this opportunity. We will be back, and just like a bad penny. And but please, all of you, actually we've got 2 scouts that want to do their Eagle project now on some area, and we're going to get Gail to let them know what they need to do. So, but it can be done, and it will be done, as long as we have the will to get her done. Thank you very much.
And now a few comments from a veteran who is on our board of directors for the nonprofit organization in charge of maintaining and educating about Historic Fairview Cemetery, Edward Sather.
The very first thing I'd like to do, all veterans here and their families, I want to thank you for your service, because the women, their wives, and children are all a part of that. My wife found this online, and I said, I want to say that, and I hope I get through this without breaking up. When Francis Scott Key wrote the Star-Spangled Banner over 200 years ago, he called America the land of the free and the home of the brave. And those words are as true today as they were then. Throughout this nation's history, American soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardmen have bravely answered the call to defend our freedom and to aid our friends and allies and turn back the aggressors. We can never fully repay our debt of gratitude to the more than 650,000 American service members who died in battle, or the 1.4 million who were wounded. We can, however, recognize and thank 25 million veterans still living today. These words are inscribed on the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C. Our nation honors her sons and daughters who answered the call to defend a country they never knew and a people they never met. Those words apply equally to our World War I, World War II, Vietnam, Gulf War, Iraqi, and Afghan veterans as well. They apply to today's active duty servicemen, to tomorrow's veterans who are helping to maintain peace throughout the world. Today it is our privilege to say thank you to all American veterans, to let them know that we appreciate them and their service, and honor them for their sacrifices. The price of freedom is high. We cannot afford to forget those willing to pay it. Today we celebrate America's veterans and for keeping this nation the land of the free and the home of the brave. Thank you.
The tradition on Veterans Day is at the 11th hour, on the 11th day in the 11th month, a moment of silence and then the playing of taps. Well, this concludes our observances here this morning, but you get the wonderful treat of visiting with the historians who have agreed to come and help share the history of military conflicts related to people in New Mexico and actually in New Mexico in the case of the Civil War. And our program will start with our first speech over at that event banner flag over there right next to the gates on Yale. We're going to have Richard Melzer, I want to make sure I'm saying the right word. Richard Melzer, PhD, on the Bataan Death March, and that is the burial spot of Reverend Frederick Ted Howden Jr., who was a remarkable man. There's actually a day after him. Is his granddaughter here? Shh. Welcome. We're looking forward to hearing your additions about your grandfather to what we talk about over there at the Howden family plot. Then, so that's at 11:30. In your guide that you were provided with, there is information about other burial spots, and in fact, right over there, next to that tree, is Governor Edmund Gibson Ross, who did serve in the Civil War. He was a senator. He was the governor of New Mexico, appointed in both cases, and you can read about him and visit his grave on the way over to the Howden family plot. And then, of course, visit some of the other places that are marked on the self-guided tour. At 12 o'clock, John Taylor is going to be speaking about Civil War battles in New Mexico. That'll be over at the Butt family plot, which is, there's another event banner over there in the tree line. So that's at noon. Melanie LaBorwit, who was the curator of the Rough Rider Museum in Las Vegas, New Mexico, will be here to talk about Rough Riders over there in the American Legion Area 1. Just look for the vertical banner that says event in bright red letters. She's at 12:30, and then at 1 o'clock, Helen, Beatty, and Kathy Snyder will be talking about the Buffalo Soldiers. They've been doing, the chapter has done a lot of research about the Buffalo Soldiers. We have at least 14 of them buried here in Historic Fairview Cemetery. And then take your time, walk around the cemetery. If you have questions, I'll be around. Other board members, raise your hands. We can help answer questions.
Gail, do we want to say that people will be at their sites?
Yes, people will be standing at those banners at those times to talk, but you can also visit with them at other times during the next few hours. Yes. And I do also want to put in a word. We do a volunteer cleanup here the first Saturday of every month and invite people to come out and help wrangle tumbleweeds and get rid of goat heads. The cemetery is returning to its natural state. I mean, it was in disrepair for a number of years, but bit by bit we are making it a high desert oasis with natural landscaping, and want to do the best that we can for the people who are our permanent residents here. So we usually start about 9 a.m. earlier in the hotter months, but we're doing it at 9 a.m. during these colder weather. So with that, thank you for coming, and let's continue learning about the veterans and the military history here in New Mexico on Veterans Day 2021. Thank you.